Okay, who wants to just sit around gushing over the homeschool resources that make our hearts go pitter-patter? Hi, I am Rachel from 7 and All. I'm a second-generation homeschool mom and pretty much a professional homeschool nerd at this point. I made this video last year with my 2024 homeschool favorites, just the things that I love, resources that I loved throughout my homeschool in that year. And I wanted to make an updated video because I think that video really connected with a lot of you guys. Plus, I do just love gushing about homeschool stuff. I mean, don't you? So some of these resources are going to be things that you can buy. Some of them I do have affiliate links for, and others are things that you cannot buy at all, but they're still my favorite. All right, let's get started. Now remember, these are things that we've really just leaned into and really loved during our 2024 to 2025 homeschool year. First up, notebooks. And you know this is not the first time that I've mentioned my love for notebooks. It does not need to be a fancy notebook. It could be a fancy, pretty school nest notebook from Amazon. It could be a nice little lined notebook from Walmart. Notebooks are powerful, and I feel like in this past year of homeschool, we have really started growing in our use of notebooks. My son has a world geography notebook that we've been continuing since kindergarten. He started a history notebook this year. This is our reading journal notebook. So we're using them in multiple ways, and I've seen a lot of growth in how we are using notebooks. I have a video on how to get started with notebooking in your homeschool that I can link to down below because I don't want to dive into all the details to make this video forever long. But these have just been such a powerful tool. They can be so inexpensive. They can be so adaptable to a variety of subjects, but really bring learning to life. So this is our reading journal. We've used it for copy work. We've used it for a little bit of grammar. We've used it for drawing pictures of what we're learning about. We've used it for vocabulary as we're beginning to read Spanish books, breaking apart long words like super habilidad. Long words that seem overwhelming in the book, we can write them down in our journal, break them into pieces, really start to see where those syllables separate with long, difficult words. So we've been using notebooks in many ways this year, and I think this is just really an area where we're going to grow and where I'm going to see my son growing in independence. I love the adaptability. Think about how can you use notebooks in your homeschool, or how do you like to use notebooks? I'd love to hear in the comments below. Next favorite is a new resource that we started using for the first time this year, which were the Odd Mission magazines published by Gentle and Classical Press. We've used a lot of Gentle and Classical resources in our homeschool over the years. This was the first year that my son was ready and able to start jumping into this level. And these are magazines, very colorful, beautiful magazines that are covering one country in one issue. And they have a lot of just information. They have articles on different topics. So we have traditional dress, holidays, games, school, what types of houses are like, nature, art and music, learning about different instruments, animals. So there's a lot in this. This has been a very good fit for us with world geography this year. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that in kindergarten, I didn't really love what we used for world geography because I felt like it was missing a spine that would really give us that kind of core knowledge about the country. We were traveling around the world with picture books, and I loved the picture books. The picture books were really fun, and I still love being able to read picture books set in different countries. But when you just read a picture book set in a different country, you can kind of feel like you're missing some of that foundational information, especially if it's a country that maybe you're not so familiar with. You know, maybe I'm not so familiar with Ethiopia. Maybe I don't know that much about the geography and I can't fill it all in for my kids. Having these issues was very helpful to have a spine for the factual information to really help us to walk away from the world geography study feeling I really did learn something about Vietnam here. I didn't just read a picture book, and I did bring in a couple picture books. They have suggestions for picture books within these guides that you can read in addition, but I just really liked the simplicity and also the ability to walk away feeling like, hey, my kids really learned something about this country, and they really, months later, even after we finished the issue, are still talking about it. So the way we use these is we just slowly went through one issue 1 day a week. We would read some of it 1 day a week, talk about it, do something, watch a video, and we'd go through one country over 12 weeks. That worked really well for us this year, and I look forward to continuing to use these. I do have an affiliate link for Gentle and Classical, so you can shop their website through my link down below. I make commissions on my affiliate links, and I thank you guys for using my links and supporting our family and the work I do on this channel. Next, a favorite from 2025 is Beast Academy. And if you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I was kind of skeptical or reluctant about adding Beast Academy to our homeschool. These books are not, I would have to say they're not my type. They're not my natural type that I would be drawn to. I would not see this and be like, oh yes, this connects with my brain and this is what I want to use. This feels a little chaotic to me. I've never been a huge graphic novel type fan. But this has been an awesome fit for us, and I do not think it would be an awesome fit for everybody. Hopefully at some time I will do a full review of Beast Academy. But for my son, who is very quick at math and really needed more challenge, this has been an excellent way to just start adding in a little bit of extra challenge. He's still been using Math with Confidence. We still love Math with Confidence, but that was not challenging him. So adding in these has really stretched him, and he's excited to do it every day. And he's told me that I need to tell other people to do Beast Academy because it's so fun and other kids will love it. I would have to say, in my opinion, I don't think every kid would love this. I think there's the problems that they're solving are genuinely really challenging. I think this is level 2, and I think some of these problems would be challenging even toward a middle schooler who didn't have great problem solving skills, who was not naturally inclined toward math. This could really offer a challenge. This has been a big, wonderful addition. It is something that I foresee continuing with for several years to come. I'm excited that I did bite the bullet and decide to add it, even though it was outside my own comfort zone. This has truly been a good addition. Next up is something also new to our homeschool this year. That's something that we've done for the first time that might kind of be a theme for this video. As my son went from kindergarten to first grade, we leveled up a bit. We started adding in some new things, and it's been really exciting to get to see him participating in these new skills and really leveling up. But a new thing that we added that I'm just in love with is hymn study. Now, this is an example of one of the morning menus from Morning Virtues by Gentle and Classical, but there are so many hymn study resources out there. There are free ones. Even my family, we have a free hymn study on 3 kind of nature-themed hymns that is available on our website. I can link down to that freebie. It's a very big freebie that will take you through weeks of hymn study as you're learning 3 hymns. I have just loved getting to introduce my son to the hymns of the faith, getting to see both of my sons beginning to sing these hymns. They have come a long way. I've shared in previous update videos that singing, I discovered, was a pretty challenging skill for them to learn. They're not the naturals at just singing, being able to coordinate, reading the words, learning the tune. You know, there's several skills involved in singing that did not come super naturally to them, but hymn study has been so great for us. And when I say study, I truly do mean study. We're not doing anything super in-depth or tedious, but anytime I'm introducing a new verse to a hymn, I'm taking the time to go through it line by line and explain it. Talk about, hey, what is this biblical reference? What Bible story are they referencing? Talk about that. What theological point is being communicated here? Or what does this word mean? You know, right now we're learning crown him with many crowns. It has the word potentate. You know, a lot of first graders don't really know potentate. So we get a lot of vocabulary introduction, but it's just really cool to see them becoming familiar and confident with singing these hymns of faith. My mom was doing hymn study with me and my siblings way back in the day, so I grew up with these. I sang hymns at some of the churches we went to, but the church we go to now pretty rarely sings hymns. So I am glad that this is something we can be introducing at home and just getting my kids to have the comfort with hymns and the encouragement from hymns, these great songs of faith and worship that are very familiar to me. It's something that I want to be familiar to my kids too. Next up, I fell in love with using picture books for learning history. And we were using Gentle and Classical Sequence 1 this year, Next year, we are going to be using our own ancient history curriculum, which is going to continue to be having a picture book every single week that we get to read. And I just love this. This is something relatively new. You know, a couple decades ago, we didn't have nearly so many picture books related to history. There's been a new trend, a newer trend in publishing picture books, especially picture book biographies, factual historical picture books. And I think it is really cool. One of the big things that appeal to me is, hey, you know, maybe with a first grader, you're not going to read a chapter book biography on Isaac Newton. You probably don't have the time to devote to reading a whole chapter book over a couple weeks. But you could read a picture book biography, and you can read it in a day or in a couple of days. This is a longer one. You can read it relatively quickly. It's not going to be a huge investment of weeks of time into learning about just one person. And I think there's a lot of people in history that, you know, maybe you don't have the time to devote weeks or months to reading their biography, a long biography, but there's a lot of people that it's worth, hey, I could read a picture book biography. I can spend a day, I could spend a couple days or a week focusing on this person and learning about their life. So I have really loved picture book biographies, picture book history books. This one's not a biography. How We Crossed the West, The Adventures of Lewis and Clark is adapted from excerpts from Lewis and Clark's journals and the journals of others who were on the expedition. A lot of very vivid pictures in there. This was one that is a longer book, but my son wanted to read through the whole thing because he just couldn't stop. Now this book, A More Perfect Union, the story of our Constitution, I'm pretty sure I understood the process of creating the Constitution better after reading this. Marguerite makes a book, excellent book on the process of book creation in the medieval times before the Gutenberg printing press, the Boston Tea Party. These are just examples of historical picture books which have truly been a gift to homeschool, and something I'm excited to continue to use as we dive into learning about ancient history with our curriculum this next year. Next homeschool favorite this year was consistency. Now you're gonna say, Rachel, consistency is not a homeschool resource. And then I'm gonna argue with you and say it absolutely is a great homeschool resource. I think consistency is actually one of the best gifts we can give our homeschool. And I do see that as a great strength of our homeschool, is that we are very consistent. For years now, my kids are not waking up wondering, are we gonna do school today? Maybe we'll do school today. Maybe we'll just do half of school today and we'll do half of school tomorrow. I don't do homeschool willy-nilly. I am a very consistent homeschooler. For my own personality, for my children's personalities, consistency is very beneficial for knowing what to expect from each day, and I see so much fruit of progress. I don't do really long lessons with a whole bunch of setup. I don't have the really creative, amazing reading practice setups that you'll see on Instagram, but I do get out reading books with my son and do it every single day. We do that every school day, and we do short, effective lessons, and I see so much progress through simply consistency. I'm not practicing reading today and taking a 4-day break and then doing it again, because then we're not going to see progress, and then we're going to keep cycling back to where we started, and that will be frustrating, and it's not rewarding for teacher or for the student. So consistency and the progress gained through consistency, I truly see as, you know, one of my favorite things about the approach to homeschool in our home. And it's something that I really encourage other homeschool parents to take a look at, is if you're frustrated with your progress or you're frustrated with attitudes, what's your consistency like? How's your consistency? Can you check that and see how that is? Because that might be an area where you can improve and where you can really see great results. Because if you just will do the work to become consistent, you can see results and fruit in so many areas. Next up, big hit, big favorite from the year, something that you will not be surprised about because you've heard about it from me many times, is Homeschool Languages. And they sent me Spanish last year, really just for the purpose for me to make a video about it for you guys. And I did that because I'm always happy to share quality homeschool resources with you. But I wasn't really foreseeing using it necessarily in my homeschool. So I kind of thought, you know, hey, my kids know a lot of Spanish. This won't really be for us. I was mistaken. This has actually been very beneficial for us. My kids do know a lot of Spanish, but a lot of their knowledge has been very passive. And in this past year, we've really been trying to take it up a notch, turn the switch, and get them not just to understand Spanish passively, but to realize that they do in fact know Spanish and they can in fact use it. By really just equipping them, giving them a fun, active practice, and kind of explicitly teaching them some things that maybe they could passively understand it, but they didn't know how to produce it themselves because they hadn't explicitly learned any rules. So a big focus of Spanish level 2, which I will say, I think we're on lesson 77 or so out of 99 in this book, so we're getting quite close to the end here. I do think we went through this rather fast in comparison to how much most people, if they were just starting Spanish with level 1 and then moving to level 2, I do think I went through this book a lot faster than we would have if my kids hadn't already had quite a bit of Spanish background. So we have been moving through this pretty fast, but it has been very beneficial for me to just be constantly having these kind of oral conversational drill and practice. One thing I have loved from this curriculum has been the conjugation board, as my kids have been learning present tense conjugation of verbs, and especially the pronouns. So we have our reflexive pronouns on one side, we have our indirect object pronouns on the other side. And I don't know, but to me as a adult language learner of Spanish, I would say that reflexive pronouns and indirect object pronouns are kind of the bane of my existence. I don't know if any other adult language learners would agree with that, but I would say that using these beanbags and going through the lessons in Homeschool Languages has actually helped me to understand these pronouns better than I ever have in my journey of learning Spanish, and it has helped me to actually use them more consistently and more correctly in my everyday conversation with my boys. So for myself, I've seen a lot of progress, which is great because I am one of the big Spanish influences in their life. So I can use these better, I can use them more accurately, and my kids are also picking up their use a lot better as we get to model using pronouns, and they have the instructions in the lessons how you are moving these bean bags around and just physically showing connecting verbs with a bean bag. We call them our beanbag pronouns. I don't think they actually call it that in the book, the reflexive pronouns, indirect object pronouns, but this has been great. I do have an affiliate link for Homeschool Languages. I do have a whole video dedicated to the program, which you can see, and feel free to ask me any questions, but they definitely deserve to be a favorite this year. Next favorite. Is it cheating if I claim that The Curious Kinder is one of my favorites this year? Because I just really, really need to. And yes, The Curious Kinder is a literature-based kindergarten curriculum, a literature curriculum for kindergarten that I myself created. But I have to include this because I have absolutely loved implementing The Curious Kinder in my homeschool over the past months that I've been using this. This literature-based program was really born out of this idea that we could do better for our kindergarteners than what I could find out there. I wanted to have fun with kindergarten. I wanted serious learning and serious fun. And I didn't want a book list where it was like, okay, we'll read all these books and 5 of them will be kind of boring, but it feels like you gotta read them, and then like 1 of them will be a wow book. I wanted a book list that was just 100% wow books. Like every book felt like a wow. Every book felt like I want to read that again. That was so worth reading. That's what I wanted, and I truly feel using this that is what I have created. So we have our readings every day. We have our easy to implement student activities because I see these beautiful literature-based curriculums that have like 7 ideas and all these supplies, and you can make this amazing whole setup and an immersive experience to go with reading this picture book. They look really cool, but I also have a 1-year-old and I have a 1st grader and I have a job, I have a business, I have a lot on my plate. So as cool as they look, that's just not that realistic for me, for my homeschooling style, the responsibilities I have. But you know what? This is realistic. This is realistic. And there are few activities that are outside the book that are also realistic and that are doable. So this is something that I truly can work with, that truly to me brings the magic that I wanted in kindergarten, the magic and also the depth of learning, because these activities really are designed to get kids thinking about what you're reading, engaging with what you're reading, and articulating the stories that they have learned as we work through them, as we repeatedly read through stories. I look forward to doing this every day. My kids look forward to doing it. They ask to read these books again and again because they are wow books. So yes, number one, that's a huge favorite for me this year. And the last homeschool favorite that I want to honor and acknowledge in this video is something that cannot be bought, cannot be exactly replicated, but I do think that everybody has access to it in their own unique way if they seek this out. And that is the value of community, the value of friends and family within the homeschool life. And that is something that I truly cherish. If you know my family, you know I have a very close, large family. We live very close to my mom, to a couple of my sisters, my dad, and they are a big part of our lives, and that's something that I'm so grateful for, and I see so much value for my homeschooled children in. So just as one example of this, I have a sister, Mary Grace. She creates the art for the curriculum that I create. She painted this beautiful cover. She works with me a lot. She graduated with her bachelor's degree last May, and she moved back to live near us in order to start a master's program while she's living at home. So she's going through her master's of fine arts program right now, but she got to move back, and that has meant that she is getting to do things with my boys nowadays, and she is just the most gifted artist. She has so much patience, and she's invited them to come alongside her into different projects. So she had a huge project for her master's degree related to the master's degree where she was making her own paper, hand-making paper. And my kids got to make paper with her as she was basically turning the kitchen into a paper making factory. And they had so much fun. And now they know what making paper is like, actually on a pretty grand scale, because they made a lot of paper because they were getting involved into her master's project, and she had the patience and the willingness to include them and to share this really cool experience with them, even as she is pursuing her own higher education, postgraduate education. And that's just one example. She's done a variety of really, really cool hands-on art projects this year, or hands-on baking projects. She's sharing her passions with my kids. And that's just one example. My mom is involved with my kids, my dad, my other sisters. This community through my family, our community through our friends, is truly such a gift. And I know different people, depending on where you live, depending on your relationships, you might have more or less of a village. But I truly encourage you, if you do find yourself in a place where you have less of a village, to think really intentionally about what you can do about that. If there is anything that you can do to start building more of a village for your kids and for your family, because I find so much value in community for the homeschooled kid. That it is worth doing the work of pursuing. It is worth doing the work of making intentional life choices. And me and my husband, we have made intentional life choices that brought us to where we are, and that give us the ability to have this very communal focused lifestyle. And I'm grateful for the ability to make those choices. That's something I will always be grateful for as I look at my kids and the way they're growing up. All right, that was me gushing about some of my favorites, favorite resources, favorite practices in homeschool this year. Now I want to hear yours. Share your top favorites from homeschool in 2024 to 2025. And feel free to chat with me about anything in the comments. I will see you next time for more nerdy homeschool videos. Bye.